What's up, guys? Welcome back on the channel. It's time to preview Inter vs Udinese 7:45 p.m. kickoff tomorrow night. And as I've announced at the beginning of this season, these match previews will now be first and foremost only for channel members. So if you are seeing this, you're seeing this afterwards, a few hours after the channel members. This is my way of giving back to the channel members for their support, but also not gatekeeping the videos for the total audience, which I appreciate everyone's support. Before we get into the match preview, of course, leave a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. But I wanted to quickly cover the release of the schedule for Inter's Champions League. Of course, the other day I made the video reacting to Inter's games and the draws that were made for Inter, but actually it wasn't announced the actual dates and when Inter would play. And it's actually worked out really, really nicely, in my opinion, guys. It's basically split pot one, pot two at the bottom, and pot three and pot four at the top. So Christian Chivu, in theory, gets a nice, easy introduction into the Champions League fixtures. So he starts off tricky, Ajax away, which is never easy, but the Ajax that I've seen over the last few years is nothing to be too scared about, but we'll see what they're like this season. 17th of September. Then Slavia Praha, then Union Saint-Gilloise, and then Inter Kairat. So it's a pretty good start, not bad. And then, of course, then it gets really tricky from November. Atletico, I think this is sandwich in between the derby. That's not that's not great timing. I haven't looked at where the Liverpool game is placed and the Arsenal and the Dortmund game. But in theory, if Inter can get the realistic 4 W's out of these first 4 games, then you're perfectly placed with 12 points to get a few draws, even if you get a loss here in some of these games that we may expect. You can qualify as, again, that magic marker to get to the top 8 is around the 15, 16 points, and that places you very, very well to do that. So that's the Champions League group phase fixtures. You guys, let me know your comments down below on your thoughts on all of that. Now, let's get into Christian Chivu's comments and press conference ahead of tomorrow's game. And again, Christian Chivu, of course, it's probably just him being a fresh new person there compared to Inzaghi, but I never enjoyed Inzaghi's press conferences. I just keep reiterating that I am tuning into these press conferences now pretty much every single time, and I'm enjoying the way he's answering questions, the way he deals with the media. In my opinion, I just enjoy it a lot more. He gives a lot more insight, at least, to some of the decisions, and he doesn't just have some pre-prepared answers or just the very, very basic answers. So I'm not going to go into every single little thing that he said, but the main thing he said was we have to maintain the high level, continue the attitude and mentality that we showed against Torino, 100%, which was, I think, one of the most key things that Inter showed against Torino, right? It was like the start was a little bit slow, like first 15-20 minutes, but then like afterwards, after the first goal went in, and then second, third, fourth, like there was no stopping. The pressing continued, and the energy, the motivation clearly was there. So that's what we want to see against Udinese. And that's what he reiterated in the first question. Then, important question about Hakan. If you didn't see the other day, Beppe Marotta showing some signs of, I don't know, age catching up to him again this season, this year. So they were asking him about Hakan. So it was a Turkish television interviewing him after the Champions League draw. They asked him about Hakan, and he answered that he needs to make his mind up. So basically, like, it was a bit shocking. Like, oh, I thought the Hakan saga was finished. Like, there's nothing going on. But apparently, afterwards, it came out that he mistakenly thought they were asking about Taremi. It was a Turkish TV station, and I don't know, is he confusing Taremi for Hakan? I don't know. But I guess this is why maybe the journalist here asked him about Hakan. He said he's a proven player, important player. He's shown the desire to be part of this group and improve, because from day one he's shown important things. He's returned motivated with the right mentality and ambition, with the desire to leave last season behind him like the others, knowing that this season is what matters. He's back after his suspension, and we're all happy. Yeah, as we said, Hakan is definitely one of the players with the most pressure, I feel, this season for Inter. And we hope to see, and we need to see a top level Hakan back this season, and hopefully injury free as well. That's the important thing. Pio Esposito, congratulations for his call up to the national team. And yeah, here, this is what I like, as I said, in terms of difference to Inzaghi. All they asked him was, how do you feel about his call up? And he gave, nice little background story of like he knows him since he's 13, his personality is what he's like off the pitch, how down to earth he is, but he's still got a lot to learn and he knows it. And these are the challenges that he enjoys because he's you know, he has a strong sense of humility, allows him to grow. Like in general, just, you know, he knows that this could be a lot of pressure for him, but he feels like Pio has what it takes to cope with this pressure. And you can see it. You can see he probably does have that. But looking forward to seeing Pio under Gattuso for Italy, hopefully. And then, of course, the question that I think a lot of Interisti, both of these are Interisti questions that Interisti fans would probably want to ask Chivu themselves. With Boni Esposito, is the chance we'll see an extra striker? So by that, they mean, you know, the 3-4-2-1 formation. He says, yeah, there will be a chance. There are a lot of games. We'll probably have the opportunity to see different combination of true strikers and or three forwards, depending on the needs of the games. We'll see more options. And that is what we'll be wanting to see, right? And that's what we're saying this season. We were excited with Chivu. At least there's more flexible Inter that will give a different look to the team depending on the situation and the tactics required, which we really didn't have under Inzaghi and very rarely had under Conte. Then, will the lineup change often? He got annoyed by this because they asked him basically the same question afterwards. It's more about, you know, the rotation. Basically, they're asking him, are you going to rotate a lot? He says, yeah, of course, you know, we're playing every 3 days. The team has to stay motivated and healthy, keep the competition at the right level. I need to please everyone a little, but without losing meritocracy. The level must be high. Meritocracy is the first principle of value. Simply playing a lot of games isn't enough. We need to prepare ourselves in the best way. So yeah, in a kind of roundabout way, he did say obviously he is going to be rotating, but it's not just about, you know, we want to see more of Andy Diouf just for the sake of it. He said, I don't want to do turnover. They call it in Italian. I don't want to do turnover just for the sake of it. It's going to be, you know, thought about, but he doesn't want to look too far ahead. So he didn't want to, you know, as most coaches do, keeps his cards close to his chest. Then this is definitely a spicy little question that I think a lot of you guys would ask to keep. It was like, if meritocracy counts, will we see Sucic starting? And this is where, is it the meme? Is the meme coming back? The hand on shoulder meme with Mkhitaryan looking at you, Mickey haters. And it looks like he said, well, we get into the predicted lineup. He says, meritocracy is earned in training. Each player has the duty to do their best and raise many questions for me when I make my selections. I'd look at the first 11, but the 22 players who must try to challenge me with the way they train, the mental preparation, behavior on and off the pitch. Yeah, they asked him about he said there was a pact made with the players before the start of the season. So obviously he's not going to be revealing that. I wonder if it will come out what these pacts are. And then very interesting question about Frattesi. Of course, maybe I'll make a separate video on it if the story develops. Yesterday it came out that Newcastle was strongly interested in Davide Frattesi. We've known that, well, under Inzaghi probably would have been sold 100%. But under Chivu, we've known that he wants to keep him and even maybe renew his contract. He wants to really use him. But we also know that he's got demand. Atletico, apparently, Napoli, Premier League teams like Newcastle, even Spurs were linked to him. So he's got a lot of demand and value on the mercato. But how do you plan on using him? And he says, of course, as a mezzala, first and foremost. He's a mezzala who can, here is directly translated from Italian, so it's a little bit funny, but it's basically a mezzala that has goal-scoring ability, but he can also play underneath the striker, so one of the two behind the one in the 3-4-2-1. His characteristic make him, make him a good fit. But since he's a midfielder, he can help me defensively, creating more density. He can do a variety of things. Defensively is where he needs to improve, to be fair. If he needs to play a mezzala, not just the way he handles the ball. Sometimes I feel like he's not very good at tracking runs defensively. But again, seems to reiterate Chivu how much he likes Frattesi, and by the sounds of it, at the moment, the Newcastle offer isn't too serious and he's staying. And finally, on Udinese, he's saying that the team obviously continue to have the right mentality, grit and aggression, but also quality. Udinese, we know, you guys know, they're very well structured physically. We know they got big guys. A lot of their team is 6 foot plus. I think on average height, they're the tallest team in Serie A. They've shown good things in terms of mobility, flexibility. They have a solid midfield, but also lots of quality. This year, they've changed the system, but the player characteristics are still the same. It's always difficult to face a team like that. Definitely cannot underestimate Udinese. But now let's finish up with the predicted lineups and let's answer the question right away. Is Mkhitaryan starting? So Sky Sport Italia, as per match day one, had the 100% accurate predicted lineups, and he is usually my go-to. And you've seen over the years, they are the most accurate when they come. They can get things wrong here and there, but they seem to be the most reliable. And they have Petar, Sucic, benching Mkhitaryan. And guys, this is a big deal. This is a big statement from Chivu. It sounds like silly, or it sounds like for Interisti, like, oh, it's well overdue, but we saw it. Christian Chivu, even before he came at Inter, was speaking in glowing terms about Mkhitaryan. Since he's come, he's been speaking in glowing terms about Mkhitaryan. Every coach has their favorites. Every coach has their unmovables. But Sucic, one thing I didn't like under Inzaghi as well is not just individually like which players I like or don't. I felt like he didn't give continuity to players, especially if they're new into the team. You know, I felt like Robin Gosens never got 4-5 matches in a row into the team, like with the starting 11. Of course, if you think DiMarco's the better left wing back, which he was, that's fine. But I'm saying a lot of these flop transfers, I feel like sometimes they didn't really get their full, you can't just put him one game as one starter and then bench him for 3 or 4 other games and one starter. I feel like you have to get some continuity if you want to get accustomed to the system and the way of playing. So with Sucic, even if tomorrow he drops 5 out of 10, 5.5 out of 10, I hope Chivu continues to put him as a starter. And then, bring on Mkhitaryan as a substitute. I think it's a great, if you want to use his experience, use his legs, which are still very powerful legs in terms of running, just not for the full 90 minutes. I think it's a good way of using Mkhitaryan and not, use him like a bar of soap like we did with Dzeko and Mkhitaryan in the past. So lineup wise, I'm very happy. No rotation, apart from obviously Hakan coming in for Mkhitaryan, Barella going back to Mezzala. Very, very strong lineup. Happy with that. Of course, hope to see some more minutes. Maybe Pio Esposito debut this time round. I would like to see Luis Enrique being brought on as a right wing back rather than a left wing back. And Taremi is part of the squad, but I don't know how long that will be for. And I think he's away anyway. I don't think this is accurate because he's away with the Iranian team at the moment, and he's getting closer to his move. Udinese, we know they sold Luca obviously to Napoli, so they don't have their main attacking threat anymore up front. But Kenan Davis is a very strong, powerful striker, physically hard to handle, English guy. Maybe he could have his breakout season this year. Who knows? Ike Bravo, talented young Spaniard. Want to watch out for. Artur Ata, who I think now in his second season in Serie A, I think he's going to show his level. He's very, very talented. One to look out for this season. To look out for the future, of course, Nicola Bertola. We were linked with him. Udinese signed him for a free, which I was surprised about. If we were wanting him, I feel like we should have signed him and then loaned him out. And obviously Omar Solet, who we've been very, very strongly linked with over the last few weeks or so for the centre-back position. But apart from that, it's pretty much the exact same Udinese team from previous years that we should be making mince meat out of, hopefully. My prediction last time was a 2-1. I might stick to that. Sometimes there's these predictions, even though I'm not superstitious, but I feel like sometimes you can go on like these good runs with predictions. I'm just going to stick to like a 2-1. We'll concede a silly goal, but I think it's going to be another good performance and good result for us. 3 points in the bag, hopefully. And I'll see you for the post-match reaction tomorrow night. You guys let me know your predictions down below in the comments. Ciao ragazzi, always, Forza Inter.